The White House has said the Olympic Games would showcase the United States and provide a tangible economic benefit to the city of Chicago. But not everyone agrees. Sportswriter Dave Zirin says to the contrary, the Olympic Games have economically hurt cities. And he writes, to greater or lesser degrees, the Olympics bring gentrification, graft, and police violence wherever they nest. Well, Dave Zirin joins us now from Washington, D.C., author of a number of books and about politics and sports, his latest, A People's History of Sports in the United States. He's a regular contributor to The Nation magazine and writes a weekly column called Edge of Sports. Dave Zirin, welcome to Democracy Now! You say that this is Obama's Olympic error. Why?
Absolutely, it's Obama's Olympic error because Obama is writing checks with his mouth that the facts do not cash. There's an old expression in politics that everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. If Barack and Michelle Obama and Oprah Winfrey and Mayor Richard Daley, if they're of the opinion that the Olympics will bring untold prestige to the city of Chicago, okay, great, that's their opinion. But if they want to spread the fact that it'll bring this tangible economic benefit to Chicago, that it'll benefit the people of Chicago, that is just a fact that is not borne out by anything in Olympic history. And I have to speak about the irony of Michelle Obama, who's from the south side of Chicago, talking about what a gift the Olympics would be, given the fact that the people of the south side of Chicago will be at absolute ground zero of Olympic construction, police repression, gentrification, and graft, which will accompany the Olympic Games.
Well, Dave, what about some of these past factual examples? Obviously, the Olympics have been here in the United States several times, in Atlanta, Los Angeles, and as well as in other parts of the world. What's been some of the results after the cameras left and after the athletes left to some of these cities?
Well, I don't know about you, but I never take my kids out and say, hey, let's go out and do a fun luge. Or what do you say we go out and do some synchronized swimming? And that's part of the problem, is that these facilities get built that have no real use after the cameras have gone and people have gone home. And what places are left with is debt. I mean, we could go down the list, chapter and verse on this, but China, for example, they spent as high, according to the LA Times, as $42 billion to get their Olympics there. My favorite example, not favorite, but Athens, Greece, they went 1,000% over budget. In Athens. That defies my knowledge of math, that they went 1,000% over budget. The city of Montreal, 1976 Olympics, they finished paying off their debt in 2006. It took 30 years to do it. And the problem is that the budget projections never meet reality. And what you get instead is just this terrible repression in the cities. You get these facilities that are built that have no real use. And you get a kind of corruption that always follows the Olympics wherever they go. And I got to say, whether you're talking about Chicago or, frankly, Rio for that matter as well, grafts, the destruction of public housing and police violence, I mean, these cities have raised those things to an art form, and I would hate to think what the Olympics would bring as well.
One of the things that's happened in recent years is that promoters of the Olympics who realize some of the problems with this government financing have been promising that the money will be raised privately, that the local government won't have to spend much of its own money. What are the facts in terms of those claims?
Well, the facts are this. Private sector can only do so much. Like, for example, just to take Chicago as an example, they've promised $4.8 billion. It has been raised privately, and that's all it would take to put on the games. The problem is that that would be an exceptionally low number, first of all. I mean, $4.8 billion would only pay for the games in Shangri-La. It would not happen in the real world. And the City Council of Chicago voted unanimously, after much arm twisting from Richard Daley, that they would take up any cost overruns, which is why 84% of the city of Chicago opposes the Olympics if it means any kind of cost overruns or any kind of hand in their pocket for tax dollars. And you go down the list, it's always over budget, with very few exceptions. I mean, Los Angeles 1984 is a lone exception in the history of the Olympics where you have these huge cost overruns that the city or the state or the country then has to make up.
Dave Zirin, the issue of police repression.
We have to talk about this because it's a very uncomfortable topic, and I know you've talked about it on Democracy Now! A great deal, but the horrible stories of police murder in Brazil, or the terrible stories of the death row torture scandals in the state of Illinois, which led to the commutation of the death row by the former Governor George Ryan. I mean, these things happen for a reason. It happened because police brutality is a reality in these places anyway. When the Olympics come, it becomes much worse. And it's not just about the police. The favorite paramilitary organization of Democracy Now! Viewers, Blackwater, has been a feature at the recent Olympic Games. They patrolled the streets in 2004 in Athens, and without question they would be under contract if the Games were in the United States. And people have to think about what that would mean, an unaccountable police force roaming the streets to make the city safe for the Olympic Games. And we've seen what this means in country after country after country. I mean, the worst example, of course, is 1968, the Mexico City Games, where 500 students and workers were killed in the massacre at Tlatelolco Square. And we now know from declassified government documents from Mexico that this was done to make the city presentable for the Olympic Games, that there was a fear that a rising tide of protest would interfere with the Olympic Games. But that wasn't just a Mexico City issue. I mean, if you name a place where the Olympics were, I could tell a horror story about what it's meant to have police there who just were known that there were no rules and that they could do whatever they had to do to make the city safe for the Olympics.